So I thought we could start with a few questions and then throw it out to the audience. So please, if you have any questions, write them down, save them, and we'll jump back to you guys. But I wanted to start off with kind of a simple question, deceptively simple. How do you define quality internally? What is quality?
Shall I take that one?
Sure.
I'll start. Okay. That's a very interesting question, and the reason I say that is there's no one answer for it. In my head, quality is what the user wants out of it. So what you might regard as quality might not be what I regard as quality. And the analogy I usually use when I'm mentoring or coaching people who just come into the testing world is, which is why requirements are very important. I can come and say I want to swing. You know, like the children's toy, the swing? Yeah. It could be a tire on a rope hanging off a tree. It could be one of those ones you see in the park with the seat on it and the chains holding it up onto a bar. It could be anything, it's a swing. A swing's a swing. Well, if that's not what I wanted, you've not delivered to me quality. You've delivered something, but it's not what I wanted. So as far as I'm concerned, you've not delivered quality to me.
Great answer, thanks for that. From a performance perspective, I totally agree with what you said, and that drives me, when people ask me, I get very hot under the collar about getting KPIs from people to define quality. So basically is that you're telling me this client is going live, they need it fast. Well, what does fast mean? What does slow mean? Like give me numbers that I need to hit. And that's how I define quality. That I need hard KPIs. And then you'll often get the client doesn't know, and I say, well, have you asked them? So you have to push back in non-functional testing, performance testing, forever pushing back on no KPIs and managers not really. The client's complaining, they're saying it's slow. What does that even mean? So quality is, like I said, argumentative, but specifically, I always push for KPIs and try to quantify quality. That's what I always try to do myself.
I was echo exactly the same as what everyone else has said. I don't really have too much more to add there. Except I would probably also try, and if they didn't know, I'd also be asking them to talk it through, and again from a user, talk through the scenario with them to help them to understand why it's important to get to a quality point as well. So if you wanted to go live, we've got a new scheduling system that's about to go live, and we've got performance load issues at the moment. And again, we all agree their scenarios and everything, but when it comes down to it, it's failing, now they say, oh, we need to stop. We don't actually need that anymore, but we're having to go back and say, well, why did quality mean something then, and talk them back through the importance of that scenario. So because I also just try and make them talk it through in their language, what quality means.
So just to follow on that, are you pulling that out of the user stories that the developers are accessing, the ACs from them? Where are you getting these sort of requirements from? How is that happening? How can that conversation be facilitated?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what we do. Again, you could be working in lots of different environments, right? Or where you've got suppliers that are coming, or you've selected a product, or the business has gone and selected a product, and it's going in. But yeah, it all comes from that, and then it's about going through and making sure everyone agrees what the acceptance criteria or what those user stories look like and actually mean.
Okay, so for us, I think we've got two types of quality. So if it's a payments application or an ATM, there's really no grey area on quality. It's got to work 100%. However, increasingly, we've got the agile concept of good enough, which we started to introduce, which is if it's customer-facing, non-threatening, minimum viable product, and that's all the buzzwords in one sentence, then effectively, we are now having conversations about good enough, which is a brand new quality dimension for us. But it's quite challenging for us to do in a regulated environment because auditors really don't understand the term good enough, regulators don't understand good enough. But increasingly, with the need for speed to market, we're genuinely having a good enough, whereas traditionally it was you need every tick in your acceptance criteria list. So it's changing for us at the moment.
And is that driven by, especially in your sector, like the fintech upstarts, or what's driving that need to be more rapid, I guess, in your development, is driving the good enough mantra?
So it's not particularly worried about the fintechs. None of them are big enough yet. and if they were, they'd have been bought out by now. I think what's driving it for us is the demand from the customer. So we've got whatever it is, 8 million mobile customers at the moment. If they want that interface changed, they want it changed tomorrow. And in practice, if it's a cosmetic change which doesn't impact functionality, if we don't do it, then we're answering 1,000 Twitter queries as to, have you noticed in the Lloyd's mobile app they can't spell the word X, Y, Z, whatever it might be. So our customer expectation has completely changed, to the extent that some of our customers, for non-serious things, not in payments or anything like that, would rather speed than 100% squeaky clean quality. So our customer expectations change.
It's really interesting. There's a real measurable cost almost to not doing that work.
Yeah, so we're obsessed with our social media profile, as are all of our competitors, because things go viral very quickly. So there may be somebody's very vocal about our bank or another bank, and the banks aren't afraid to use the negative criticism against each other. So I think our customer needs have changed. Our customers will no longer wait. So, for example, they expect absolute certainty that if they pay something in, it's in an account, if they take money out, it's deducted. But it's things like the interaction with us, so, I don't know, things like verifying their ID is probably a good example. They no longer want to traipse into a branch and have to do it. So we've got online versions now, they work, and they would rather have that in perhaps not the most slick fashion than have to traipse and try and find a branch. Right. So it is very much changing for us, that dynamic.
That's really, it's interesting, you mentioned before something about, dealing with being in a regulated environment. I suppose, quite a few of you deal with this, and probably people in the audience as well. What sort of additional requirements and overhead comes from having to test in a regulated environment? Does that even enter your sphere of concern? Or does it mean that effectively, right, we have this core set of things we need to test at all times, because we're not going to be in compliance?
So for us, I think, if it's occasionally we will have to do what's called interbank testing. So certain regulation that comes in, there's an insistence that we've proven we've worked with our solution and other bank solution will work together. So we have to partner with other banks. The regulator has the right to insist in certain changes. For example, the open banking stuff that's just come out, we actually had to share our test evidence with the regulator. So we are massively, massively regulated. That isn't going to change, it's only going to get bigger. For us, it actually introduces extra cost. So there's a real cost implication of regulation that is sort of. So interbank testing, which hopefully will get easier as we all go into the cloud a lot more. But for us, yeah, it does actually add additional tests we need to run.
Robert, do you encounter any of that in your day-to-day operations?
Just recap the question, please.
It's more the question is, with certain regulations, so, FCA, I can't remember which one it is anymore, it seems to sound like, right?
PRA is the other one.
PRA, and you've got the healthcare has their own set of requirements. Do you encounter times where regulation?
Well, we produce financial code. Okay, so we're always here, Basel 2, Basel 3, all this stuff, but that's a lot of that's specifically for the banks to really implement. Now, when we, in the regulatory, we as Murex, we produce code, we have to make it easy for our clients to implement these codes. But this is more on the functional side. This is kind of taken away from the testing side. So I'm trying to understand the question in terms of, you're talking like when we actually test, do we have to test for a regulatory authority saying we have to comply with X, Y, Z?
Yeah, I mean, it's the question is specifically, do you have, when you have specific testing requirements that come from regulatory bodies, so.
Yeah, well, usually, I mean, on the sorry for the question, what I was explaining earlier on the clearinghouse, for example, what drove that project was the regulatory authority saying, we, Mr. Clearinghouse, which I can't say, you have to clear this in a time. And if you don't clear it in a time, every one trade that goes over, you have to explain why that didn't go over. So this puts a huge pressure on the clearinghouse, which then pushes back to us. So these KPIs weren't like, oh, we would like. these were KPIs, or no, you have to hit these.
KPI or die, basically.
Basically, yeah, and the 99.5 percentile is allowed to a little bit of volatility, but do you know what I mean? So we do get this push from clients, very hard KPIs sometimes. Some clients, to be very honest, they're just like, oh, as long as it does the job. Other clients are, and this is usually driven by region. Some clients are very, very easygoing. You'd be amazed, they put things in production straight away, it's hilarious. Other clients that spend 6 months putting it in production, and they go through like a huge test string. So, but the regulatory authority in the financial world is massive. But specifically around performance, it depends what the clients actually do. Right. Some clients just do batch jobs, that's only at night time. Other clients do real-time trading, and etc. Right, okay. Anything else to add?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, just, I mean, for us, we obviously work with all, like our clients are these guys as well. So when we think of compliance requirements for us, it's actually about client requirements. I think we also have all your ISO, all of that stuff as well. We need to be demonstrating, and for us, we're really making sure that our in-house stuff, you know, we're not damaging your brand is a big thing. But some of the nutty stuff that Lloyds do, we also have to test. A good example we were just talking about was the horse earlier. Jim was saying in the audience, you know, making sure we don't publish anything with the horse shouldn't be able to be sent around within our environment either. So any of those sort of unique ones, we need to be able to prove to our clients. And public sector, obviously with all the GDPR stuff, that's a biggie for us as well.
So you mentioned kind of demonstrating and illustrating. I guess this is more of a broader question. How do you communicate internally testing metrics? You know, you want about KPIs. We often hear about dashboards. You know, you walk into some of these rooms and they got giant walls full of screens and numbers and charts. What's really been the most effective way to communicate what you do to the rest of the business that you found?
With my current role, what we've just started doing, so we've just started doing dashboards and KPIs, and of course we went through around the houses of what would be acceptable range of the KPIs. So we're going to measure them based on defects, how many P1s, how many P2s, are we going to be that granular about it? Are we going to look at specific areas? Oh, this area is always problematic, so we need to look at that. So we've done the dashboards, but the thing that I'd like to do more of is communicating not the KPIs or the things we've let slip, but actually the things we've done.
Keeping it positive.
Keeping it positive.
Yeah.
So we have a newsletter, we have an intranet, and that goes out, and once every month I send something to the team, the social media team, and they'll put something up there to say, did you know we did that? Did you know we did that? And so that's just a positive message for us. So it's not just the, oh yeah, but did you know you missed this, and did you know you missed that?
Yes, they'll tell you if you have a problem.
Yeah. So it's getting things into the newsletter. Also, we have in the IT world for Camelot, we have what we do call a monthly cascade, and that's always I always make sure we have a section in there where someone from my team will come and talk about projects they're working on or they've worked on and it's gone live, and we're just communicating that yes, we were part of it and it's working. We did that something.
Sometimes.
Maybe as well, it's a recap of question as well, it's kind of like, can you justify your department sometimes? And I spend a lot of time, not say self-promoting, but effectively, I had a manager once say to me, he wasn't a tester, I want to test everything. And he's like, it just goes to show you, like, sometimes you're dealing with people who aren't testers, and they don't know what they're talking about. So you need to really bring them involved at the start process, show them what's possible, show them the low risk, the high risk, show them the plan, because what you don't want is to exclude this guy. 3 months later, he's roaring his head off because there's a problem. He doesn't understand why it's slow, he doesn't understand why it's delayed. If you don't get buy-in and sit down and make the plan with whoever, you're going to have a major problem. And you need to kind of give them updates, and then don't be scared to give public updates. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? We found these problems, it was this, it's now this. You know what I mean? Because it's good for team morale as well, and to push it out there.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's a great point about the external facing stuff as well. You know, you always see the iOS updates come through. What is this release? Bug fixes. What did you fix? What did you do? Yeah, communicate that. Definitely. Anybody else?
Yeah, just to add to that, we started probably similar to yourself, Marianne, around number of defects and things like that when we were going around when we communicate similar what the wins we've had each month. We communicate with our user group as well, so sort of have a different channel for that. But our leadership team wanted to put a financial figure. Obviously, everyone wants to put a nice pound amount to it. So starting to. It's more about telling the story as well, so that they could understand. But the other one we do is the quality loop, which is where things that go live for those first 3 months. Afterwards, we're monitoring those, and we look at 2 things. So one is looking at number of any major incidents or anything that happened, number of just tickets to service desk, all of that type of thing, but also benefits as well. So we loop back in and say, well, actually, did it deliver the benefits as well? And so we would bring that in. So looking at it from a what's gone live perspective, but also from if we look at if there have been any major incidents as well, what should have been picked up from a quality perspective, and that gets fed into our retros and things like that. As a team, what do we need to pick up?
So I think for us, we're desperately trying to do less MI. So there is
It's an interesting opposite approach. Yeah.
The reason being is we could have 3,000 people testing at any one time. So what we try and do is more the education piece. So there's things we're obliged to report, so defects linked into production, where there's a root cause of test, there's an obligatory metric we have to report on. But beyond that, there's a couple of things. We're trying to promote self-serve MI. Rather than trying to second guess what people want, put self-serve portals out there so they can get the data for themselves. In getting the data for themselves, they perhaps better understand the test lifecycle then. We've cut our KPIs down, really minimise them, because actually it's about the end-to-end story. If you isolate test or quality engineering as a metric, actually you're missing half of the picture. So now when we talk about defects found, we talk about where they're found in the life cycle and injection points, and it's no longer a QE or a testing metric, it's now classed as a project or program metric. Because otherwise you're doing the inevitable. As a boss once said to me, a job well done means effectively 0 defects in production, so congratulations, you did your job. And also we look at, actually trying to look at cycle time reduction MI. So if we can demonstrate that by testing differently, we've actually reduced cycle time, because that's a powerful metric never really get whether I understand test or not. But as much as possible, we've just got too much data. So we found that the more data we supplied, it was feeding a monster. So we had projects that wanted 3 times daily status reports. So increasingly what we do is make that self-service. So if the project manager's got nothing else to do, he can go and get the data.
Here's a link to do.
But yeah, very much trying to reduce the amount of MI we produce.
Very interesting. I think we've all kind of been there. There were some chuckles back in the background. Certainly the amount of numbers that are thrown around that just are numbers for numbers' sake.